didn't fly in on saucers, they drove up in cars, wore slacks, spoke Italian, handed out fruit, and said they were from another planet. And for nearly 30 years, people believed them. This is the true story of the W56 extraterrestrial beings who lived among us, worked with human allies, and built underground bases across Europe. Today, we're joined by someone who might understand them better than anyone, a Pleiadian starseed and Galactic Federation ambassador, Sarah Starr. Will she think the friendship case is the real deal? We're about to find out. Welcome to another episode of Mostly True Alien Stories.
UFO sightings. Many Americans have wondered about the dangers of unknown objects.
Scientists in Mexico pulling back the curtain. We need to save ourselves.
Welcome back to Mostly True Alien Stories. I'm Neal Girandola here with my co-host, Andrew Triana. Hi, Andrew.
Hey, Neal.
How's it going, buddy?
It's going pretty good. I can't complain. Everything's going well.
You can't complain to me, that's for sure. But listen, today we're heading to Italy. I know you're excited about that, but it's not for the wine or the views, but for one of the most quietly fascinating extraterrestrial contact stories ever recorded. It's a case that spans over 30 years, involves radiant human-like beings, underground bases, and a group of ordinary citizens tasked with an extraordinary mission. We're talking about the friendship case. It's a spiritual and intergalactic alliance that many believe was real and was ruined by us. And to help us break this one down, we've invited a guest who's uniquely connected to the themes of this story: frequency, ascension, and the power of human vibration. She is a Pleiadian starseed and an ambassador for the Galactic Federation. She's an intuitive psychic, an emotional empath, and a channel for higher wisdom. Her mission? Simple: to guide humanity out of the 3D matrix and into vibrational alignment with our quantum selves. Whether she's decoding solar weather, discussing the ascension process, or breaking down the hidden history of our reality, our guest brings a clarity and presence that grounds these galactic topics in something real and tangible. Please welcome Sarah Starr to Mostly True Alien Stories. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, thank you for having me on.
I have to ask, and I know the answer to this question, but I'm interested in how you articulate this. Do you believe in extraterrestrial beings on other planets?
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious, and it's not just on other planets, it's everywhere. Every planet that we have in our solar system is occupied, including Earth, in the sky, in the ocean, down below, underneath volcanoes, kind of everywhere, literally. It's just they hide from humans. But yeah, they're here. They're ready. I think we're ready to a certain degree, but I think it's going to be slow.
Well, you said something interesting there. You said they hide from humans. Why are they hiding from us?
It's more of a protection for humans because we're such on a level of like lower consciousness of not even being aware that they're even there. And since it doesn't look human and we haven't interacted with something that's outside of the norms of human-like beings, it's more of a shock factor. And there's a lot of education that needs to be presented first in order for people to get out of that fear aspect. Because once you see something that doesn't look human, your body automatically goes into survival mode. So you're thinking that this is going to hurt you in some sort of way. Your body and your mind connect fear to that. And that's that programming that we've kind of been, centralized to throughout the whole world. But it's not a fear thing. It's more of we're children and we're not ready to get to that level yet, but we're getting there. And we kind of have to meet this certain mark because our technology is meshing up with interstellar travel. And when that happens, we have to come and intervene and see how the society will go. But there's also a much bigger picture, energetic wise too, of why this also has to occur. So it's very multifaceted. It's probably not just going to be one podcast that we can talk about the whole Galactic Federation and the inner workings and the outer workings and everything. It's a huge, huge deal. Military presence is also involved in this. This is highly classified information that we talk about, but it's something that we need to talk about. So the more people and the more energy that we get in a good, positive way, we'll have a better outcome because we're in the midst of a very big timeline shift right now.
Before we get into that, and just based on your response to this, I feel like then you're saying that it's going to, probably not in our lifetime that we would be prepared.
No,
Meaning,
it's going to be in our lifetime, but it's going to be at different stages first, because we do have human hybrid programs that not only extraterrestrials deal with, but also with our governments as well. And these people kind of get ushered out of these tunnels, and then they come and live among us and try to survive and things. There's some dark hidden agendas there, and these people are finally starting to come out of these tunnels and seek social media and community and try to get their story out there. So it's happening now. Literally, it's happening now. It is going to be in our lifetime, but it's going to be our children are going to have a better advantage to this than us. We're supposed to be the stepping stones and the structure for them, because they're going to also be looking to us of what's going on, and they need an adult to be able to present that information in such a way. But I think children also are going to help with that too, especially the fear factor, because they're open-minded, for the first time they're seeing things and they don't
Yeah.
know what it is, So I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
it's going to be levels.
If we're not ready now, how will we be ready? How will it
Yeah.
become up to a point where we will be ready for that?
Well, it goes in like I said, it goes in steps. You have to think of, this has been hidden since you were born, way prior to your being born, way in like the Bible days. There are civilizations that are out there that are malevolent, and their form of living is control factors, and they know exactly how to do this, and they do this on other planets. They came into Earth, and what they did is that they used their tactics of religion, of finance, of technological, of frequency, and political manipulation. And they program it into education. So that's all you know. And that's all your parents know. They limit the lifespan of the human, so they can't pass on or figure out that information within one lifespan. And it's destructuring all of those big pillars that we have in place, and that's what we're seeing fall. So media, we know, is falling. We know politics is falling. Religion will fall. Finance is going to be reconstructed into something. It's going to go more into digital, because that's how you that's how you transport goods in and out whenever we get into like a type 3, type 4 level civilization into interstellar travel. That's how you trade. So it's really beneficial to us, but we have a lot of switch ups that we have to do. We have a lot of frequencies that we have to like tune out of. And I see and feel and hear people changing that, or at least questioning the narrative. And I think that's where it goes. So I feel like we're in very baby steps when it comes down to it, but they're waking up, but it's going to be slow, like painfully slow.
What is it that we're trying to ascend to? Where is it that we'll be where we need to be?
This is very multifaceted again. So I'm going to give you like the top layer of it. So what happens during like celestial events is that we go through what we call the photon belt, where there's an immense amount of light in photons, and that's higher frequency. When you go through this photon band, you start to have a frequency increase. It also decreases the magnetic field that we have. That's also a consciousness field, and it's also multi-layered, and that's kind of how you can access Akashic records and like information and things like that. But when we get an influx of all of this high frequency vibration light literally coming in, it's literally plasma consciousness, and that's where you get memory from. It unlocks DNA patterns. Your phantom DNA, it's not phantom, you just can't see it because it's not within your frequency light range, you know what I mean?
Right.
So you have like infrared, ultraviolet, and then you have things that you can't even see. And that's what we're dealing with. So we're going through a solar maximum, but this isn't just a normal solar maximum 11-year type deal. This is a 25,000-year cycle, much bigger than anybody can, prospect. And the military is coming out of it. This is very real. And it sounds crazy, totally understand it. However, everything is lining up to a T. So what we're seeing is that when the magnetic field breaks down, we have more of this cosmic energy coming in. And it's not just cosmic energy coming in from the sun. Whenever we have planetary alignments or trines or squares or whatever to different planets, we also get that energy that comes through. So it's like, it's very powerful. And based off of those energies is how you perceive your reality. And so it's more of, we're breaking down this frequency grid that they have on place on the planet, but it's going to collapse that. We're going to have a power outage. We already do. They're going to reconstruct the figures of everything. And it's not fun. And you can feel it. You have a bioelectrical field as well. So you have this energy around you. It tethers into the planet. So it's more of when you connect and open up your energetic pathways, you can receive more of this information. And then you'll just start noticing different things in your own reality. Usually it starts with synchronicities, but it could be different for everybody. It could be a lot of just information that they're learning at a fast pace. And it's a frequency change. It's not we're getting taken away in spaceships. I mean, that's going to happen, but like way more in the future. But it's more of traveling with your physical body into a different reality of consciousness of a higher frequency. And that's where we can start interacting with higher frequency beings because we'll be on the same level. We'll start understanding more, and we're coming from a different place, not of fear or control factors like that. We're coming from understanding and unity and realizing that we're not alone and that they're not an enemy and that we can actually coexist with one another. And they have a lot that they can teach us and help us with, especially technological wise.
You look at this and go, man, this is a huge responsibility. I have a lot of work to do because it's your role to educate us. It's your role to get us to aligned and get to open up. How would you fix Andrew, for instance? How would
I don't
you
know what's wrong with it.
No, there's a lot wrong with him. But how do you get him
He just went
to how do you get him to connect? Andrew is a non-believer in all of this. Okay. So which is good to have on this show. And I still love the guy, but it's good because he breaks these things out and I still love you.
Thank you.
But how do you explain to someone like him to, hey, you know what, it's okay. Everybody can have their own beliefs. It doesn't make you a bad guy, but how do you get him to start leaning in, grounding himself, and opening up to that higher energy?
Andrew believes because he's on the show. So, and I can read him right now and he's all in. He wants to believe, he understands this. And I feel like, I don't know you, Andrew, but I feel like from a childhood, you have like this weird connection with it. So whatever that is, dig into it.
I mean, I just have to be careful for myself because I'll go down the rabbit hole and then where do I go from there?
And that's good though, because you're going down those rabbit holes and that's where a lot of that information can come from. And I think that's kind of what people are going to start doing is they're going to question their reality because they're realizing that the news is lying because they're seeing other sources now. It's more of the people telling the people and spreading the information as quickly as possible. But it's up to each individual, depending on where they're at, consciously, if they're able to do a deep dive or if they just need baby spoonfuls, surface level kind of basics. It's not me going to find them. It's them trying to find me.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the people that I specifically look for, is that whoever can understand like the complex concepts that I'm saying is advanced enough to understand and to teach this themselves. There's going to be a shutdown. They're going to be looking for a lot of this information. Now, are they going to believe the news when it comes back on? Or are they going to believe and go straight to the social media sources that they already had before? It's spoonfuls, very tiny, tiny spoonfuls, because we're not just breaking down one thing. We're breaking down the whole thing. And religion's a part of that. That's scary for people because they base their whole life off of that, because that will cause instability. And we need to be as stable and steady as possible.
The religion part is what scares me the most. I mean, we're fighting wars over religion for
agree.
years now.
Well, Sarah, you tapped into something, with me, I kind of started getting awake during the COVID time and really just
COVID.
thinking about that and doing my own research on that. And now that's led me to our food that we're consuming. And it's just fascinating with what I see, like on labels and stuff.
Are you going to ruin my lunch?
Yeah, I'm going to ruin it completely.
And that's part of what you were saying, Sarah, right? There's layers of these malevolent,
Big layers.
things happening that are
Yeah.
keeping us from opening up our energy
Correct.
within,
And
to
food
accept
has
that
a
stuff.
big source of that as well. Food, water, the
Yeah.
clothing that you wear, the
Sure.
detergent that you use, the shampoo that you put on your hair. Literally every single thing that you have is contaminated, toxic, and has been predetermined
And this is
way in advance.
And this is where I think that you have a huge responsibility. You have a lot of work ahead of you. I have a question. So can you truly explain to me what a Pleiadian starseed is and does?
Well, there's different types of star seeds. Me personally, I had no idea even what Pleiadians were until around like 2020, and I did the deep dive. I woke up, had my spiritual awakening, and then everything made sense. And I said, "Oh, does that make me crazy to resonate with that?" And I said no, because everything in my whole life lined up to it. And that's the thing. Like, I've lived many lifetimes. I've traveled, I've incarnated in multiple star systems, but the one I was supposed to wake up to in this lifetime was being part Pleiadian, and I resonated with that since I was a child. I've had visions of the grays. I knew that I mean, I was supposed to be a single child because in other lifetimes it was just me, but I always had white hair, and I resonated being very pale. And I mean, I'm short, I'm not tall, but whatever, it still works out. And then I wrote books when I was a kid about different planets, the planet Lots of Water, and I believe that was Mintaka. That was a different lifetime, but the one I resonate most with is being a Pleiadian, because I look like it, and then just my psychic abilities just tell me whatever. Run with it. That's how you resonate. That's how you feel.
Sure.
So it's more of like being a Pleiadian starseed is connecting to that unity, into a calming type of energy, into a more loving type of thing. Now, I've had vivid dreams, I've had telepathic downloads, I've had a lot of like connection. It's my very lived in reality.
What is exactly the Galactic Federation in your view? Because
Well,
people have perceptions of that, right? They have different
yes, I do.
perceptions of that.
Yet again, this is multifaceted,
Sure,
but I'll give you the
sure.
basics.
Yeah.
So the Galactic Federation goes below one tier of, like, say there's source consciousness, there's the solar logos, there's the Confederation of Planets, there's the Intergalactic Confederation, and those control galaxies, universes. Well, inside of our galaxy, we have a physical, tangible one, and it's called the Galactic Federation. So say whenever source wants to separate itself, and like you and I are source and everybody else is the same exact thing. So the whole goal of source exploding and having a big bang and creating another thing is for it to complete a level. So whenever we complete the whole level, we can get out of here and do something else. And that's what the Galactic Federation kind of does. It's more of getting everybody on the same page and to expand their consciousness so we can get out of different types of dimensions and then explore something else. That's the whole point of it. But the Federation also does a lot of control factors of who comes in of the galaxy, who comes out of the galaxy. And we work with different teams, like different councils and things. There's a lot of rules, a lot of regulations. We can do nonviolence, but we can destroy things, especially if it's a threat to the galaxy, a planet, or a civilization itself. We can intervene. But the Galactic Federation kind of is like the police of the galaxy, shall I say, or like the political convergence of everything, but on a much, much higher scale.
Yeah.
So how do you communicate with them? Do you go like in a meditative state to do that?
I personally don't have to go into like a meditative state. I can talk to them kind of whenever. It does help if I want something deeper, or if I have a client that wants me to connect and find a very certain thing. I will take time to go into a meditative state, just so I know that my energy is clean, clear, stable, and whatever is coming in is whatever is coming in. So it's more of telepathic communication. I get visions, I get images. I'm not clairaudient, so I can't hear, and I don't see like physical like things in front of me, those aren't my gifts. My gifts are like I know things and I can see visions. I can see timelines.
But you don't hear specific personalities.
No, I'm not clairaudient. So
Yeah,
it's not
okay.
like I'm going
Right.
to hear somebody next to me. It's a different form of talking. There's different forms of beings that I connect to. There's two specific ones that I talk to a lot. I've talked about this in my lives quite a bit. I talk to an Octurian being. It's a male. He's shorter. He's shorter. Well, he's not short. I feel like whenever I perceive him, I'm perceiving him from like my past,
Yeah.
like of how I looked, and I was obviously very tall because I'm short now. But I see myself like looking down on him.
Sure.
And he's like this dark purple color. He has like a texture on his skin. He has lenses on his big eyes. They're like a dark blue, and he's very funny and kind of like very sarcastic, but intelligent.
Have you ever sketched him out, drew him out?
I
Have you
can't
ever?
draw,
Oh, 'cause
but
it's so.
I can see it clearly, very
Yeah.
clearly.
When
Yeah.
was the first time that you connected?
Connected with him probably around 2020,
Yeah.
around 2020 when I started doing my deep dive. So he started coming in and reassuring me that I wasn't crazy and
Sure.
then giving me information. They all have different aspects that they talk about. He talks about a lot of technology. He talks about like how you travel throughout like time and space and things like that. So he focuses more on that, but he's very lighthearted, tiny mouth. He has a very tiny mouth. And then I talked to a woman, very tall, from the Andromeda galaxy. And she's very, very tall. Also, like this purple sheen, very pretty color. She has irises and she's very slow talking, but she doesn't like talk with her mouth. She'll telepathically talk. And she talks more about frequencies and energy and how things work, like outside of the galaxy. So, like a bigger picture.
Do they know each other?
I never asked them.
Yeah.
I never asked.
Bill, meet Sally. Sally, meet Bill.
This is so fascinating to me. But when it comes to the frequency conversation with her, is she? Oh, what's her name?
I don't have a name for her or him. I've never
Yeah.
asked for names. It's
Yeah.
just they're there.
But
No.
when it comes to that frequency, is she teaching you or is she answering your questions? Is it more of a, you understand what I mean? Is it just, hey, Sarah, you need to know this,
Yeah,
by the
it's
way?
kind of both. It's kind of both. Like
Yeah.
I'll have something in my life that I'm trying to like figure out.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden she'll just chime in with whatever the answer is. I feel like they're my guides, or perhaps maybe that's me in a past life, future life. I don't know. And maybe that's why I have this connection.
What can I do today to get closer to being ready for this conversation?
The biggest thing is to question your reality and to start opening yourself up to the possibility. We'll say possibility. It's not a possibility, it's going to happen, but we're going to use that word anyway, so
Sure.
it doesn't scare people.
Yeah.
But the possibility of having this interaction with them, because we're not only thinking of them as in fantasy terms, but we're also thinking of them in, hey, they're going to be in front of you, reality on your TV screen. How are you going to present that? How are you going to feel afterwards? So it's more of regulating your energy. So it might be reconstructing your diet from all of the terrible foods that they put in your system to literally keep you trapped in a certain mindset, to calcify your pineal gland so you can't communicate with them. But it's not going to work. Like I said, no matter what, it's going to turn because of the amount of frequency coming in. No matter what, it's going to drown it out. But it's also, you need to spend time out in nature. That's how you cleanse yourself naturally. I mean, you just go outside 10 minutes, you can put your bare feet, connect like an electrical circuit, literally, and you can clean your energy out. And when they see that and that you're radiating and you're connecting to other things in a positive manner, that opens you up again. And so whenever you're grounding into these type of things, you're energetically healing the planet and stabilizing yourself.
We could talk for hours. I'm telling you, there's
Right.
so many topics. We're going to have you back on. I can't thank you enough for being on here. Are you ready to get into this featured story today, Sarah, with us, me and
Oh, of course.
Andrew?
Yeah.
So if you're new to the show, let me explain how this works. I'm going to lay out the facts of this case, a true report, the claims, the key figures, the timeline. It's almost like a case file. And then I'm going to hand it off to both Andrew and our special guest, Sarah Starr, to see what they think about it. Is it mostly true or not? Are you guys ready to get into the friendship case?
Ready.
According to this report, there once was a group of Italian citizens who served as the supply line for a peaceful alien race, hiding in underground bases beneath their towns. It's a decades-long alleged alliance between a human support network and a spiritual extraterrestrial group known only as the W56. But before that alliance ever formed, it started with a walk along the coast and a man named Bruno. This takes place in Italy between the year of 1956 and all the way through the early 90s. The primary locations were in Pescara, which is the east coast of Italy, and then Milan, Rome, and various regions throughout. Bruno Samicitia wasn't your average UFO witness. He was a respected psychologist and an esoteric scholar with a deep interest in metaphysics and the paranormal. His spiritual leanings and scientific mind made him a unique figure in 1950s Italy and possibly the perfect candidate for something extraordinary. In the summer of 1956, while he was walking on the beach in Pescara with his friends Giovanni and Giuliano, Bruno encountered two men unlike anyone he had ever seen. They were towering, luminous, with Nordic features and piercing blue eyes. They introduced themselves as Sigir and Sunga, and according to Bruno, they weren't from Earth. They claimed to be part of the benevolent Intergalactic Alliance and called themselves members of the W56. The W was for victory, and 56 marking the year contact began. They didn't just speak fluent Italian, they communicated telepathically, transmitting feelings and intent directly to the mind, and they had a message. Humanity was at a crossroads. The W56 were here to help us elevate, but they couldn't do it alone. So Bruno was quickly brought deeper into their mission, which he described as both spiritual and practical. He wasn't chosen by accident. The W56 valued moral alignment, not military power, and soon others were invited in. And so over the years, the circle grew around Bruno. He had professors, clergy, engineers, students, and artists, ordinary Italians who were asked to do something extraordinary, support this alien group from behind the scenes. They were asked to do a few things. So deliver food, water, rare minerals to prearranged drop sites. They had to keep the existence of the W56 absolutely secret. They had to uphold the W56 spiritual code, one based in unity, anti-materialism, and high vibrational consciousness. In return, some were shown the inside of the bases. They reported technologies beyond imagination, including living metals, plasma-based tools, and advanced healing chambers. And the bases themselves were hidden in remote parts of Italy and possibly beyond, accessible only to those trusted by the W56. Now, the descriptions of the W56 were almost mythological. They were said to be over 7 feet tall, radiant, beautiful, and deeply emotional. They teleported at will, barely ate, and radiated such love and kindness that humans would become euphoric in their presence. Their goal was to help humanity ascend spiritually, consciously, energetically, and to steer us away from violence and ego and toward what we now think of as 5D consciousness. But there was a little catch. So the W56 weren't the only beings watching Earth. You mentioned this, Sarah. They warned of a dark opposing force, an extraterrestrial faction they called the Contraries. These beings fed on fear, chaos, and division. They infiltrated power structures, media, and military channels, spreading war and materialism like a virus. To counter them, the W56 relied on emotional purity, which meant their human allies had to stay in a high state of trust, peace, and love. If a collaborator acted with ego, jealousy, or greed, it could collapse the connection. And that is exactly what started to happen. So by the late 70s, tensions inside the group reached a breaking point. Some members grew suspicious, others demanded proof. A few tried to profit from the story or use the alien tech for personal gain. The W56 issued warnings. Bruno later claimed they told him humanity is not ready. And one by one, the bases went dark. By the 90s, contact had ended, and some of the humans involved believed it was their fault, that they failed the test. And Bruno, well, it's reported that he suffered greatly. He emotionally and spiritually was damaged from the loss of the beings he once called his friends. The case still remained obscure for decades. Some names eventually came forward. I think it's important to note these. Stefano Breccia, an engineer who compiled testimonies and audio recordings of the W56 voices, in his book Mass Contacts. Gaspar de Lama, a friend of Bruno's, who claimed direct interaction and helped deliver supplies. And then there were, of course, several anonymous military insiders, clergy, and academics, many of whom refused to speak publicly out of fear or reverence. And these sources revealed old photographs, recordings, and firsthand interviews that all pointed to something vast, strange, and deeply emotional. All right, so that is the story. That is the report that I have. Now I'd like to hand it over to Sarah and Andrew, and I'd like you guys to fill in the gaps and provide me some compelling details that I haven't mentioned or didn't bring up, or that I missed, that will make us decide either way whether this is a mostly true alien story or not. And Sarah, I'm going to hand it off. Ladies go first. Ladies before gentlemen.
So glad you brought up this case because it really blends a lot of like what I experience in this reality and then what has happened in the past and what is continuously doing it. And plus there's a huge thing of human documentation surrounding this. So it's yet again artists, scientists, and intellectuals. It's very professionally taken care of, and there's a lot of things to back it up. Now, these are Nordic looking beings. There are a lot of Nordic looking beings that are in Italy and in Russia. They're not Pleiadians, they're different, but they are very slim, they're athletic.
So they're not Pleiadians. They wouldn't refer to them as Pleiadians.
I wouldn't refer to them as Pleiadians.
Okay.
I wouldn't, because Pleiadians don't like station themselves on the planet. They have the technology to come in and out. They don't really station themselves here. They don't have to. They have other means of doing that.
But you're not sure what they would be called?
Not correctly. Remember, we're thinking about like hundreds of thousands of different species.
Sure. Okay.
So it could be one of the hundreds of thousands of different ones.
Okay. Yep.
So it's very multifaceted. The star lineage is human looking. The Anunnaki, they have blonde hair, they have blue eyes. We descend from the Lyra civilization. So we're all 5-pointed star systems. You know, that's
star lineage.
Head, 2 arms, 2 legs. We all kind of look the same and we mimic that. So what we see is yet again them looking radiant, tall. They have a feeling whenever you're around them of like calmness, usually very calm, very uplifting. And that's because of the frequency that they emit. When you're around them, that's that euphoric feeling. It's because they literally admit that you're feeling.
Do you think that was the reason Bruno and was able to create a group around them? Was it the energy that they were emitting, that they would believe that this is aliens, asking for help? Is it that energy that is that strong?
It's very strong.
Yeah. It probably wasn't an accidental meeting.
No, absolutely never. No, they know who's around them. They can perceive you from very far away.
Sure,
they can pick up on your thoughts, your energy, and everything. They know whenever you see them, what you're thinking, and if it's a good idea to interact or not. They're reading you and seeing, are you safe? Do you know anything? What do you know? Can I come up to you? Is this going to be a good connection? Because the ultimate goal is to educate all the humans and get them on the same level. But are the people that you're, meeting on the side over here who just found your base, are they reputable? Are they credible? Can they handle it? Like whenever we get into stories, I can feel emotions from them. So what I get is that there was tension within the group. I don't know. It feels like it was ego driven or something. There's like some ego driven kind of deal. And they picked up on that, read the energy, and then decided maybe it's not the best bet. Maybe we need to wait this amount of time and then try again.
Ego driven in terms of
the group.
monetary though from the group, or was it more like, why does Bruno get to see the alien bases and I don't get to see it, and I've been doing all this work? And could it have been both. That?
I think it's both. I think it's, you can monetize off of things, and I feel like there's maybe 2 people. I don't know who these male. 2 males, dark hair. And they picked up on it, and their wheels were spinning because they were talking amongst each other of how they can get this out, what they can do. Do we give it to the media? Will they give us money? Things like that. But there was also, it was a jealousy. There was a lot of jealousy involved because they wanted to feel special as well. They wanted to have the interaction, but they only choose certain people, specifically people who they already know their DNA, so they can pick up on where your DNA is from, what type of lineage you have, if you're going to be activated when you're around them or their technology. So I feel like it was ego driven as a form of jealousy.
For our listeners, you're currently connecting to this. You've done your research, but you're currently connecting, because I see you. It almost is like you go into a bit of a glaze and you're catching some sort
Yeah.
of energy or signals. It seems it's very cool. This is one of my favorite episodes ever.
Well,
Well,
good.
s-
I just love this.
s-
Okay, go ahead.
so
Yeah.
we left out a little important thing. So when Bruno, it wasn't just coincidental that he met them, because apparently he was given a map. Because their base is underneath a castle there in Italy. So he was given a map, like a treasure map is how he described it. And he went there a couple times prior and didn't meet them. And it wasn't
Mhm.
until like the third time that he went there that the two beings came out and greeted him.
Okay. I didn't hear that.
It was almost like what you're saying. They were waiting to get a read on somebody in the group to
You
say,
have to read them, yeah.
this guy is okay. I think this guy will be okay. Let's see what happens. So,
Andrew, you're absolutely correct. They pre-screen kind of everybody that they go through. And another way that they pre-screen is through your dreams and things, because it's an easier way to access you and get information than talk to you one-on-one without you remembering whenever you come back into like your realization of Earth. And they may have had a contract prior to him even reincarnating here. Just so this interaction can come forth and then all the information can come out. But they chose him. And I believe he was under the Gran Sasso mountain range. And did you know that there's a laboratory underneath there? I didn't know that.
No.
that I did
Literally,
not know.
they have an underground base, but this is an underground science facility within miles of the human infrastructure. It's called LNGS. It's a lab gallery, and it stretches roughly 3 vaulted halls of 100 meters long and 20 meters wide.
So it actually
So
exists.
it's a real thing. Just for future reference, kind of every mountain is occupied. Volcanoes underneath the sea.
Wow.
It's an easy way for them to, I don't know, that's just how you do it. You have underground bases kind of everywhere. Like I said, all the planets are occupied. Mars, there's that big volcano on there. That's a huge underground base over there too as well. So why is it underground? Why is it scientifically underground? And what are they doing under there? Were they working with the scientific community at that time?
Interesting. Right.
That's what I want to know, because they do work with scientists. They have coexisting relationships with them in order to not 100% hand over the tech, but to help them along, because we technically have to build it in our 3D reality with our own bare hands. They can give you the blueprints or the ideas and like babysit you while you do it yourself.
I always struggle with that. Why not just give us the technology? You are explaining this to me, and I understand what you were saying, that we're not prepared for it. How much more prepared do I need to be if I'm working next to an alien?
So let's say, for instance, that they're at a military base and the scientists at the military base are working with extraterrestrials or interdimensional beings or whatever. A lot of them don't directly talk to them. They'll be in the vicinity and maybe you'll see them once in a while, but they're not going to have direct contact with you because they can read you. They can read your thoughts. They don't want to scare you. They kind of like will point to things and then see if you can pick up on whatever they're giving you. And then if you're one of those people that is intelligently able to do that, then they kind of converse with you, but more telepathically. They speak actually pretty slow, very calming, almost robotic in a type of way, because yet again, it's not their first language. But we can't sway how they think about it. So we can give it to them, we can hand it to them, but we can't tell them how to use it, because that interferes with their free will. We can give them hints and like little things here and there, but it ultimately has to be developed by humans themselves.
This is a first for me, because it really is nice to have this perspective. We haven't had a guest on that has this perspective. All right, so go on with the story.
So in terms of like them being there in the mountain, I think specifically they were working with the scientists underneath that ground in that laboratory. I'm pretty 100% positive that's what that is. And that's why they were trying to interact with the human civilizations. They stumbled upon them, and they were trying to work out the agenda like other civilizations around the 50s, because that was the agenda around the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, into the 80s. But then things had to change and they had to take a step backwards. I feel like they're definitely working on some like quantum teleportation type of devices underneath there. It has to be underground for specific reasons because of the effects that it'll have, like with the electromagnetic frequencies above ground. I think they're also using a lot of like advanced consciousness manipulation type of science that they're doing underneath that ground, so that living tech that you were talking about, that's omnipresent tech. So I feel like they're working on that. So I feel like it's a lot of it's a lot of tech that they're doing down there.
Yeah.
I don't think it's one of the deep underground military base type deals that we're talking about in terms of like science and like hybrid programs and like that type of DNA splicing manipulation. I
But
think
still
it's
advanced for 1956
very,
and
yes,
leading up to the
Yeah.
90s.
absolutely, extremely. So I feel like we've definitely worked our way up. But remember also that these bases, they may not even be there anymore because the bases switch all the time.
Okay.
One of the
So
things that I found was that they talk about teleportation a lot. So that makes sense if the labs are moving. The only way that they could move the whole lab is to teleport everything from that lab to another lab. It's not like they could just physically put it in the back of their spaceship and fly it over to the other lab. So it's all
yeah,
done that way. But when you're talking about technical communications, I came across one thing in the story that was fascinating where Gaspara de Lama is a friend of Bruno's, said that they brought him into a room and they put two radios side by side and they tuned both radios into the same frequency. So imagine it's like playing swing music, right? Both are playing swing
Sure.
music. But the W56s were able to break that frequency and communicate to Gaspara and everyone in the room with a message. So I found that to be fascinating that you always talk about frequencies, how they were able to crack that code basically and use that frequency that was happening with the radio. So like you're listening to 96.9 kicks, right? And then all of a sudden that's not
They're
96.9
speaking,
kicks.
right.
It's a
Wow.
message.
It's a
And then it goes
message.
back to 96.9 kicks. And Gaspara also talked about how they would enter the lab through these portals. Like there was no doors, there was no secret doors like bend this limb and the door will open.
If there was one alien tech that they could give us, it would be that. I would love to be able to go from here to California. Just, I'll be right back, guys. I got to go. Yeah, I got to go West Coast for a few minutes. I'll be back.
yeah,
I would love that.
that would be so nice. Could you
Yeah.
imagine? And that's how it is like on normal planets, just not Earth. Earth is not normal. You guys remember this and you resonate with it because that's how you lived it. It's not normal to have to type into a computer and tangibly do things. That's not how it works. You were able to manifest things and you would have it. You had 3D printers if you needed to eat any type of food. You didn't even have to eat food. Well, it depends on the species, but you can just put your finger on like a gelatinous type of thing and have everything you need. Do you remember in the 80s whenever all of a sudden there was a computer?
Yes,
And
right,
nobody
right.
questioned the reality of
No,
how it came to
right.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be like that. We're going to have tech out of nowhere. Know
Well,
what I
once
mean?
that happens, I think we're just going to barrel forward into this whole nother world of
Yeah, I'm
living.
excited. Everybody's life is just going to be so much easier, so much happier. I think we're on the right path. I think it's going to be slow, like I keep saying. I hate how slow it's going to be, but we're not going to have to live that life anymore. You can live your passion.
So what other information do we have? What am I missing?
Well, I did want to talk about how they had no visible craft. Now they're visible. They prefer cloaked type of craft. A lot of beings do. They're definitely a higher advanced consciousness. Now, I thought it was interesting that they are still within the 3D reality because they were asking for fruit and things like that. And that's one of the things on 3D planets. They eat a lot of fruit, not vegetables. It's always fruit. But they had to hide here on Earth because they're really invested in Earth's spiritual evolution. That was the whole point. They have to stay long-term grounded in a place so they can have these cosmic visits with people.
What do they have to gain by caring about us?
When we talk about the humans and what do they have to play in it? Well, we have a specific genetic makeup here on Earth specifically, and we have their DNA specifically, a ton of different types of DNA to get to a specific point of evolution. But we've been stuck here and we're holding everything back. They've had civilizations that went down, like the dinosaurs, that was a reptilian project, or Atlantis and Lemuria. We've been through this cycle before. So they're making sure that it doesn't happen again because they have so much invested in our DNA, because the ultimate goal is to advance the whole galaxy into higher dimensions.
Sarah, maybe you can shed some light on this. The W56 has apparently said that they were the precursors of the spiritual world. I guess they were starting it.
They weren't the first species. There's several different types of species. So maybe they're thinking of themselves in a federation type of way and using the word like we did it as in that
Right.
way, because that is technically I mean, the mission is to like help everybody and
Right.
to succeed in it and to at least start it or at least get the breadcrumbs going at
Right,
least.
right. And then they spoke about the CTRs like I don't want to call them the bad guys, but that's basically what they said they were, the bad
Right.
guys. And they described them as almost human-like and that you could see them driving around Italy in black Mercedes.
Huh.
So if you think like Men in Black type of people, that's
Yeah.
that's
Right.
what came to mind for me.
Driving around on their mission to shut things down,
To shut
Well,
or
I
to
mean,
make things
and
bad.
influence them, make it bad.
Yeah.
there are a lot of species that do live here on planet Earth, and their job is to do that type of stuff and to interfere into galactic origins and missions. They're involved with the deep state, the elites, and the government and the black projects. Some of them are human looking, some of them can transform and shapeshift into human looking things. I mean, say it's a reptilian shapeshifting, okay? They use their psionic abilities to make you think that you're looking at a human, but literally they're plain as day reptilian in front of you.
Wow.
There are Men in Black type individuals. They're not human. They're very tall. They do wear suits, and they are manipulated with a lot of AI, like nanotechnology and things like
Okay.
that. Kind of like infested, like the reptilians or the draconians.
Huh.
That's what the Men in Black are.
So
And
you're
they can
saying
shut
that,
down operatives.
and that's what you're saying, Andrew. You found that these guys are driving around in black Mercedes.
Yeah, that's how they describe
Right.
the CTRs is that you'll know them when you see them driving around. They're in black suits. Most of them are bald, human-like. They describe them
Mhm.
as human-like, but not really human.
Did you
I'm
ever
sorry.
watch Fringe, the series Fringe?
No.
Not
What is
either of you? Because there was a whole thing in there where one of the guys, the bad guys, were bald, wore dark suits. They drove around in Mercedes.
See, they put it in your
pretty
media.
wild. They put it in that.
Told you.
And it was
Everything that you-
really great.
Everything.
I've been right this whole
everything.
time, Neil.
Yes, you've
I've
been
been
right the
right.
whole time, Andrew. The
He
whole
knows.
time.
Andrew knows.
All right. So what
Yeah.
else you guys have? Let's fill in some more of these blanks here for me.
They found a letter to prove that they've been here for a long time. They had presented a letter from June.
Wait, who did? Who did?
Bruno showed the letter to his friends and stuff and said that the
Okay.
W56s gave them this letter, and it was dated June 6, 1761. It was written by Voltaire.
What?
Yeah. It was written by Voltaire, and who was a French philosopher, and it was addressed to the court of Saint Germain.
Okay.
And it speaks about things that were going to happen in the middle of the 20th century. So I'm thinking 20th century is probably like World War II. It spoke
Mhm.
about that.
Right. Yeah,
It
yeah,
spoke about it mentioned like moving pictures and wars is what the letter mentioned. So
Hmm.
and that was them to show that, they've known this whole time
We
that
know.
this was going to go down. So I found that
Hmm.
fascinating because the court of Saint Germain is listed all throughout history. Pretty
That's an
fascinating.
interesting. That is something to look into even further at some point
Yeah.
to find those connections.
Saint Germain is just the other name for, Old Nick or the devil because he
Hmm.
has existed since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
If you look at it from a biblical sense, he's been around since the serpent's been around. So Saint Germain is not supposed to be a really nice guy, but Voltaire was saying, hey, these people told me that this was going to happen. What do you think? I never saw what the letter said that came back, but they just mentioned that they had
Sure.
shown this letter, and then the letter disappeared. So it wasn't like anyone else got to see it. The other thing too is that the pictures and videos that were taken of their spacecrafts, the unidentified flying objects for the W56s.
So they had spacecraft.
Oh yeah, they had
We have
spacecrafts.
craft.
Yeah, they have craft. And then the only way that people were able to get photos is that the W56 would tell Bruno, we're going to be over here at this time. Bring your people if they don't believe you, and they can take photos of the crafts.
Mhm.
So it's like, hey, meet me tomorrow, 1:00, behind the McDonald's, and you're going to see our ship.
Yeah,
and
sure. Bring your camera.
So what was cool was that they did that, right? And they have the photos, and they put the photos through, new technology, checking the photos to see if they were doctored, if they were fake. They said all the photos were real.
It's always around the 50s that they were doing this with a multitude of people around the planet and having communication with them and telling them to come out and view and photograph their ships. They were giving certain people permission to do
Yeah.
that for later purposes. And I think
Right.
it seems like probably at the time that they needed to shout it to the rooftops to everybody all at the same time. But it's the more of the information, it's supposed to come out now, because now we have a lot of the proof, and we are getting military footage from that, and we are having whistleblowers. And I feel like everybody wants it from the government, of course. Everybody wants it from
Yeah.
the government, whatever, from the government.
I feel like this story that we're talking about today, I feel like it's one of those things that really relates to everything that is happening today. It really does tie into a lot of the stories we've told, a lot of the collective information of today, the disclosure, the being prepared, the energy of it, the positiveness of it. I think it's a very we tapped into a story here, I think, that just resonates with
Right.
the conversation of today, for sure. You know,
Yeah.
not to get off track here, but
No.
this is why I'm so glad we're doing this. I'm glad that Sarah's here too, to really actually take us in a different mindset, a different connection to this stuff, you know, which is
Right.
very cool. Sorry, Andrew, we interrupted you. You had something else?
Yeah, I was going to say the way the W56 described the CTRs was that they have no morals, and they're all about tech advancement. How does that play in, do you think, Sarah, with like AI? Because isn't AI considered tech?
It is. And that's what I was trying to tell you about, like the AI nanotechnology and how a lot of different species are infested with it.
Okay.
This also goes and coincides with the photon belt and how we're going through this frequency barrier where lower frequency can't come through. So they're manipulating the energy to see how many souls that they can keep in like the third dimensional world
Got
and
it.
time frame and things, so they can have that loose energy, that adrenochrome and all that fun stuff. What they're talking about is a civilization or a species that doesn't have emotions, kind of like the Greys. The Greys don't really have emotions. They don't understand empathy because they're so enveloped into technology, because that's how they advanced so far. But they get to a certain degree where they can't advance anymore. So they have to travel back in time, manipulate the
Okay.
genetics on different type of planets.
Are the Greys nefarious? They're not nefarious, are they?
They're not.
Or exploratory, aren't they?
There's thousands of different types of Greys, but the ones I think you're talking about are like the typical abduction Grey type
Sure.
deals.
Yeah.
Now
yeah.
the ones that we're talking about, I believe, are going to be the they're like advanced humanoids, and they, instead of going into more of a higher consciousness situation, they want to develop into manipulation and control. And they did that through technology because they wanted to advance in that way. And they infiltrated themselves because they couldn't do it organically. So they literally would put things inside of their bodies, or reconstruct their bodies, or extract their
Oh, weird.
consciousness and put it into a different synthetic body. They're usually synthetic.
Yeah.
They don't really feel emotions because they're out of that realm. So they may be abducting you and have a straight face because they don't understand why you're crying or anything like that. They never really had to deal with it. So it's that
Weird.
AI that is infested with them and controls them, and they don't really understand it because they're still trying to manipulate the DNA and to not destroy their race.
What are the last things that you guys could add in here to this story? And then let's weigh in on whether we think this is a mostly true alien story or not, based on everything we've talked about.
I got nothing.
So do you think that the demise of this group, I don't think that they have gone. I think that they've gone silent in interaction, but I believe they're still here, Sarah. But I think the demise, the end of it, is what is kind of heartbreaking to me, in a sense, that they couldn't keep this group from their egos getting in the way. Was it the influence of the contraries, or was it just ego itself just got in the way? Was
I
it
think
just we're
it's
just not
definitely,
built that way?
yeah, we're definitely built that way because we have empathy and we have a range of emotions. And that's also a really big development of why we come to Earth, is to feel the emotions, because we may incarnate somewhere else where there's no emotions. We
Mm.
never had chocolate milk or anything like that. We don't know how to taste. We don't know physical
No.
aspects or things. We have
Love, but
five.
they have love.
Oh, we're talking about the
So I'm
Nordic
s-
type beings. Yes,
so I'm going back.
they
Yeah.
are very
W56
love-filled,
is they love
unity type
love and
of deal.
friendship.
That's how
Yeah.
you connect to others. So
Yeah.
they are, and they can pick up on when dynamics change. They
Sure.
can pick up on when humans are infiltrated by frequencies that are beyond themselves, which is what those contraries have, and that is the agenda on the whole entire planet, from dark, very dark benevolent species.
So what happened to Bruno? Does anybody know?
I don't know if he passed away or not.
He's
But
gone. Yeah,
I
he's gone.
do.
He has passed away.
Oh,
But I saw
he
photos
did
of him.
pass.
He looked like one of the Godfathers. I mean, he had always
Did
in
he?
this really nice Italian
Okay.
suit with a thing. He's like, "Hey, I tell you, I see the aliens. They come and talk to me, and I tell you, yeah, it's very nice." It's like, what?
No.
He's like,
I
you
don't
mean
believe
you
it.
want to meet the aliens? Come with me. You want to know the
Yeah,
aliens?
we're gonna
Oh
have
my
a
gosh.
pizza, some wine, and some pasta. You see, I'll make a
Yes.
nice salad for you. Make a nice
Oh
salad.
my God, I love it.
All right. So first,
Honestly.
I'm going to go to Andrew. Andrew, do you think this is a mostly true alien story or not? And don't let Sarah sway you either way. We
No,
just you
I
can
have no
weigh
influence.
in.
I'm covering Sarah's face on my screen
Don't
right
look at me.
now
Yeah.
while I say this. After doing the research
Yeah.
and diving into this,
Okay.
I'm going to say that this is a mostly true alien story.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Who
Go
are
Andrew.
you? Who are you?
Who are you?
Yeah,
Well,
because
the-
he's never thinks
Never?
There's
anything
only
is
been one
true.
other time. The only one other
One other
time.
time.
That was Pascagoula.
Yeah. Out of our
Yeah.
25
Resonate with
episode,
it.
once. Yeah.
Well,
But this
that's
one
And
really
why,
just
why
this
do
one
you think this
resonated
is
with
mostly
me.
true? It did.
It just made sense. Everything made sense. I mean, them going, you guys, we're giving you all this opportunity, and you're just not ready. That's really what it boils down to. Greed and our own desire to be number one is what ruined everything. Instead of thinking of it as a team, everybody started thinking of themselves as individuals, and that's never going to work. If we all don't work together, nothing's going to, I mean, there's going to be total nuclear annihilation. You know, it's like you can't continue to live your life that way. You've got to think of others as well as thinking of yourself, but it's all one. I think it's a mostly true alien story.
All right. I love it. Andrew says it's a mostly true alien story, and I love the reasons why. And now I'm going to hand it off to Sarah Starr, who's going to weigh in on whether you think this is a mostly true alien story or not. Sarah, what do you think?
Yeah. This is absolutely a true alien story. It has happened in multiple different locations, not just in Italy. They've been presenting themselves for hundreds of thousands of years. And I think we're finally getting in the direction where we can start bringing this information out in a new age type of way, using the multitude of network connections that we have to explore these topics, to expand people's consciousness, and then give them and present them with the energy and the frequency and the knowledge that really needs to come out now, because I finally think that we are ready. Each country is in control of their own disclosure, but I feel like America is going to lead the way because we're already very open and we connect with each other and we're trying to do this unity type thing. I think we have a long road ahead of us, especially in third world countries where religion is going to be involved the most. But I see things working out in a very good way. I feel like we're on the right track, and the next 20 to 25 years is going to be massive. But the most important years that we have right now are between 2025 and 2027, where the bulk of the old structures are going to fall, where new leaders are going to start picking themselves up, and we're going to start voicing our opinions no matter what, because the truth is going to come out in one way or another because we're in control this time.
And I'm very excited about what you just said about that over the next few years. I think that I think you're right. I think you're spot on. And so you say it is a mostly true alien story. Andrew says it's a mostly true alien story. Now let me weigh in on what I think.
No, here we go.
This is a no. It's so. To me, this is in a sense, a very sad story. I think it's a very heartbreaking story. I think that that was the time and our chance, one of our greatest chances, for this to expand and for us to have this be much. We don't have to wait till 2027 or the next 3 years for all of this to come out. I think it could have happened sooner had the human race not got in our own way and our egos get in our own way. And I think it's a great lesson. It's a great story. And I like this because it had such a different approach. The story itself didn't seem like there was a commercial aspect to it. Didn't seem like, yes, some guy came out and tried to sell a book and do all these things. I get it. I can't blame him. But he was asked not to. That was one of those things. I think that actually adds to this whole aura of this story and the truth behind it. Just the positivity, the joy, the love that they were experiencing during that. I keep imagining myself having that experience with, an alien race and having that, something like that happen. It's so believable. Um, and so this is absolutely a mostly true alien story. I'm in agreement with you guys. And I'm excited that we were able to really, really dissect this with you, Sarah. I think this was one of those things where, I only think this story is one of my favorites because you were here as our guest, because your approach, your mindset, who you are and what you represent, I think makes this story even more believable and more true. So I thank you for that. Do you have any last takeaways you'd like to share with us before we go?
Honestly, the biggest thing in what I believe the friendship case really tells or teaches us anything is that benevolent beings are here to help and they want to help, and that they're watching us and measuring our energy and seeing where we're at. But it's really up to humans what type of civilization that they want to be. Are we worth working with? Can we change? That's the thing. So it's kind of like humans hold the key to their own ascension, but are they going to get in the way of it? So we need to realign ourselves with this love and this unity and this empathy for the whole global aspect and then beyond. We can't see ourselves as the only living entities and we're so ego driven that we're going to take over the planet because that's who we are. No, we're a multitude of a whole vast civilization of coexisting beings. So we're invited back into the stars with a friendship like aspect and connection, but we need to not get in our own ways. And we need to start setting these things up and holding love and time and coherence with our own energy fields so we can coexist with them.
I love that. Well, there you go. It's a 30-year alien alliance under the streets of Italy. I hope we get that chance again. I want to thank you again for bringing your voice, your gifts, your galactic guidance to Mostly True Alien Stories. And listeners, be sure to check out Sarah on her TikTok and YouTube channels at the official Sarah Starr. Is that correct? That's where they can find you and get and you can book a Starseed Origins or intuitive reading with Sarah as well. For everyone listening, if you haven't already, subscribe, share this episode with your most skeptical friends, and drop us a comment with your take. Was this a real exchange program or just a beautiful story wrapped in a high-frequency hope? I don't think it was. This was a mostly true alien story. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Andrew. Until next time, be kind to the aliens when they get here. All right.
I love that ending.
UFOs sighting. Many Americans have wondered about the dangers of